PlayStation Drive is starting. While you wait, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon on YouTube to be notified of future goodness. If you enjoy our show, we'd love it if you gave us a 5-star review or rating on your podcast service of choice. To continue the conversation, join the Carpool Gaming Discord, where you can find a wholesome community to have a chit-chat with. For some exclusive content, you can also support us on Patreon. And finally, don't forget to check out the Carpool Gaming website for an awesome range of merch. Links to all that and more are in the show notes, but without further ado, let's get revved up for the PlayStation Drive. Whoa!
What's good, everybody? Welcome on in. This is the PlayStation Drive, episode 173. I am one of your hosts, one of your spooky hosts for the evening. Our spooktacular is here. I, of course, am Ryan, and I'm joined, as always, by Matt and Ron. How are y'all doing on this lovely spooktacular Sunday evening?
Sunday. At least it's a Sunday, Ron.
Yeah,
at least it's a Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Surprised me there.
Enough people in the chat were like, Ryan, you should probably stop with the Chunday thing. And, you know, for Halloween, to celebrate Halloween, I wanted to, you know, give everyone a little bit of reprieve from the Chunday. But that'll be back next week, I'm sure. I'm sure of it. But because we'll be in person next week, Matt. You know, we'll be able to do this in person.
Good luck, Matt.
It feels surreal. Thanks, Ron. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Of course, as you know, audio listeners or video listeners may not notice, and I'm going to press this button here. Fulia is not here because this is a picture of her on the way to the airport,
Koala,
which is very, very exciting.
So
we're going to see
miss Fulia already.
Fulia soon. She's already hanging out in the chat, so maybe she's just hanging out on the plane watching the show with us. But we're going to see Fulia next week. So or this weekend, I should say, which is very, very exciting for us. Because I'm hearing a knock at the door, Matt. I don't know if you hear it over there, all the way over there, but I'm hearing housekeeping. So of course, we've got new content over on patreon.com/carpool gaming, such as Matt, your pants episode is out this morning. Came out this morning.
It is. I had an opportunity to do 2 episodes about one of my favorite holidays, Halloween. So it was a good time recording. Obviously enjoyed the questions, the feedback from the community. So no, it was a good time. Love talking about Halloween and just answering people's questions. So hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed recording it.
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. Also out on Patreon right now, speaking of scary stuff, Sean and Seth, they did a review and spoiler cast for the Super Mario Brothers movie from 1993. That's also available on the Patreon. Make sure to go check that out as well if you are interested in hearing Sean and Seth's thought about that movie. Because I don't know if y'all have seen it, but that's an interesting movie. I'll tell you what.
I'm not gonna lie. After listening to the episode, I kind of want to go back just to watch it from that lens, just because, well, I think like many others, I've only watched as a kid, and obviously a lot of stuff just went over my head. Obviously, stuff was creepy and whatever, but just listening to their analysis about like how this is only a Mario movie by name, but there's other like, you know, deep philosophical concepts they went through that clearly went over my head. I'm like, maybe I want to watch it again just to see, is it as bad as the internet poops all over it? Or, you know, was it just ahead of its time? I don't know. I'm very curious. Ron, come on. Give it a try.
Time.
Oh, no. John Leguizamo? Come on. He's a gem.
We're going to stop this. We're going to stop this now.
What?
That movie was like a completely different movie that just happened to have the Mario Brothers name put on it. Like, there's no way like that it was ahead of its time or anything like that.
I've seen this as an adult. It still is cheeks.
Oh, yeah? Is it still bad? It's still bad, eh?
It's still bad.
I mean, whereas I definitely haven't. I haven't seen that movie since I saw it in the theater as a child.
Oh.
And it still haunts me to this day. Because I'm just like, the fungus was really gross, and then Yoshi was just like, ugh.
What they did to Yoshi was just wrong. That whole movie was just wrong.
100%. But anyways, those are the PlayStation Drive's thoughts about the Mario movie. But if you want to hear Sean and Seth, head on over to the Patreon as well. And last bit of housekeeping, and it's probably the biggest one, of course. Extra Life is this weekend, y'all. Or this weekend coming up, November 2nd. This Saturday coming up, so it's 6 days away, less than 7 days away. So we're already 1 day into the countdown. If Sadako from The Ring gave us a call and was like 7 days on the phone, we would be 1 day into that 7 days before she'd crawl out of our TVs and murder us. Because Extra Life's coming. November 2nd, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be live right here on twitch.tv/carpoolgaming live and youtube.com/carpoolgaming. But that's not all, folks, because we're going to have 2 separate streams. Because each one is going to actually have different content on it throughout the 25 hours that you'll be watching us try and not go crazy from staying up 25 hours straight playing video games, including, with Pepsi Man and as well as many other games.
Yes, Matt's favorite game. Let's go.
Yeah, I can't wait actually for Matt to play Penn and Teller on Sega CD actually in place of those games.
I can't wait either.
That's going to be a time. It's going to be a trip. Let me tell you.
Fabulous.
What am I playing? What did I sign up for?
Penn and Teller's Smokin' Mirrors on the Sega CD. It's a game that never came out because that's how bad it is. So we're going to play
Enjoy.
that.
Yes. Oh, Matt, your excitement. I can see it.
I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah. So yeah, look out for all the details from that coming out this week, including a bunch of prizes, Matt, because you filmed a little video talking about prizes, because prizes are a thing. Prizes are coming, and we're excited, of course, to give out prizes. Of course, that comes along with donations, of course, because we are helping raise money for the Stollery Children's Charity, which you can, of course, if you're interested in donating, head on over to our Extra Life page, extra-life.org/participant/carpool gaming, and you'll get entered into some of those amazing prizes. And if you don't have bucks to toss, no worries. Just come hang out with us on the live stream this weekend and just hang out with us, play some games with us, because I think it's going to be a really, really, really fun time. And we've also had a bunch of incentives as well if we raise certain amounts of money as well. Some of them involve costumes, some of them involve wheels, some of them involve certain people on this panel playing certain games. So yeah, if you want to see
Matt's going to be showing off the guns. 10K
for the guns in Pepsi Man. There's guns in that game, right? We
already hit the dollar value of $10 raised in order to make Ron play Stardew Valley. So I mean, we're already.
I didn't know that was a goal.
No, we joked about that.
It's for the kids, Ron.
Although it is,
I don't remember.
For the kids.
Ron playing Stardew Valley is a stretch goal, but we haven't actually decided.
I don't remember this.
We literally talked about it 2
I don't remember. I don't remember us talking about this.
We have receipts, Ron. We have receipts.
Editor Ryan is going to roll back the tape in the audio listener version of this.
I don't recall. Oops. I'm an old man. Too bad.
God. So, anyways, Extra Life this weekend. Please be excited for that. Without further ado, of course, let's start off with this spooky episode of the PlayStation Drive Right by grabbing your 8 tracks, popping them in. Because it's an 8-track full of like spooky haunted house sounds. Because it's time for the playlist. Time to talk about the games we played this week. Starting with Ron, what'd you play this week, my friend?
I didn't play any scary games. I'm still playing Daybreak, but I am toward the end of Chapter 5. Chapter 5 has been fantastic. Everybody who was saying that after the intermission the game was going to roll, they did not lie. Cannot wait. I'm hoping to finish this up by next weekend for sure. This has just been fantastic. The Chapter 5 has just been so good.
I mean, Ron, could you say that it's scary how good it is? Whoa.
Oh God.
Again, you can tell. This is a spooktacular episode of the PlayStation Drive.
You walked right into that one, Ron. You walked yourself right into that.
Yes, Chapter 5, fantastic stuff. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish the game by next weekend. That's it.
Nice.
Exciting.
The Falcon Empire will be pleased to hear your progress.
The who?
The Falcon Empire, you know, the ones that dress like birds for Halloween. They
Falcom?
walk around all the places. They're like, caw-caw,
C-O-M? C-O-M? Falcom?
Yeah, the Falcon Empire. Gotcha.
No, wrong.
Anyways, Matt, please save us from this insanity. What'd you play, man?
We're here to continue with the insanity. I finished up Resident Evil 2, or I finished it. Last time I was on the PlayStation Drive by rolling credits on Leon A and Claire B scenario. And I was thinking about, going to the Backtrackers game, Rain World, but I was like, you know what? If I said I'm going to do one full experience, I got to stick to my word. And anybody who's played the OG Resident Evil 2, the full experience is, in fact, all 4 scenarios. And see, Ryan's nodding his head because he knows what's up. He knows what's up.
100%.
And the interesting thing, the interesting thing that I realized, because I just started up Claire A now, and then I'll do Leon B, is that they are very, very different. It's not like the remake where like Leon A and Leon B are barely any difference in terms of storytelling. These are vastly different. Like, this truly is remarkable for a game from 1998 to have 4 different paths. And funny enough, Ryan, I think we talked about this last time, where I was never really on either side of, what's the canon story in terms of like Leon A, Claire B. So now that I'm revisiting it, I can actually say, you know what, Claire A and Leon B, I do feel like is canon, and just the reason is, in Claire B, so that's the second scenario. Can I spoil the game, Ryan?
Of course. It's Resident Evil 2, and no one is going back and playing the OG.
It's 1998. It's fine.
They're going to be.
I don't know if someone's going to go back and play
OG. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, in Claire B, Sherry, the little girl, she does not get infected by the G virus. You don't have to cure her. You just have to deal with the lovely Mr. X, and it's very annoying. So to me, not having Sherry get infected and you don't have to cure her is a huge part of the lore that you're missing. And that only happens in Claire A and Leon B. So learn something after revisiting this game after 20 plus years. So thoroughly enjoying it, friends. Still spoofs me out every single time Mr. X shows up, smashes through the walls, and then he smashes through the wall again like the Kool-Aid Man. He just, boom, just pops out, and just, he's relentless, even back then. So I'm really glad that the remake, sorry, Rybo, I don't know if I spoiled the story for you.
It's fine.
Rybo's
you
good. He should have played that back in 1998. It's fine. Yeah. I don't even know if he was born then, but he should have played it.
I was going to say, how many people other than Matt right now are currently going back and doing old runs of Resident Evil 2, the OG version, who haven't played it before?
Somebody's out there.
Dozens. Thank you, Ron. Dozens.
Yeah, somebody's
Dozens
out there
of us.
somewhere. Yeah,
that's right.
Why not?
But yeah, I love the fact that remake kept the fact that Mr. X chases you relentlessly, because I know a lot of people had gripes with it. Like, he is annoying, he is menacing, but that's part of the spoops, right? To keep it in. So thoroughly enjoying it. Not gonna lie, there's a possibility that I continue my OG Resident Evil run after I wrap up 2. There's a possibility. I'm not saying I will.
You must have really not enjoyed Rain World for this to be happening.
Well, not only that, but this is also just a sign of, because Matt, if you had bought new games this year, you would have never had time to do all that stuff. Having that time freed up to kind of just do what you want, play what old games you want, I think has really, give it ignited those creative juices in your brain to be like, you know what? I do want to just go and play old Resident Evil games, because why not?
It's very liberating, I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, I got an itch now to go back and do remake Resident Evil 1 for the Platinum run, because I've never attempted it, because that one, if you've played Resident Evil 1 remake, it's spoopy. Poop your pants spoopy. It's terrifying. So that's why I've never even attempted.
Come out of the tank, man. Oh my god.
Dude, I was watching a video about it, and just it reminded me of how the music is ramping up. Ron, have you played Resident Evil 1 remake? The OG, the one from GameCube?
I played the OG version.
Oh, the one with the clown music, the original one. Okay.
No. The one with the clown music, Matt, is Resident Evil Director's Cut from the PlayStation 1.
That's right. That clown music is ridiculous. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Yeah, the shark part, that music ramps up, and there's a timer going, and I think you're trying to do something with the computer, and as the more you do it, the more the music ramps up, and the shark is smashing the window. It is so stressful. So I don't know. Or you know what? Maybe I'll go back to the backlog. I still have to play Dragon Guard 3 and Metal Gear Solid 5. So we'll see. But I'm just like
Or
in this.
you could play Resident
Or-
Evil 6. It is your favorite Resident Evil.
Okay. To be fair, I have not platinum Resident Evil 6 on my PS4. So that is on the to-do list. I only have the platinum for PS3. So while I despise that game, I will be playing it again at some point.
Now,
'cause
Matt,
I don't have
that's
the
not what
platinum
you
for
told me.
PS4.
You told me Resident Evil 6 was the GOAT. Don't lie to the people.
Good God.
I'm just
Sorry,
for audio
it's-
listeners. I'm shaking my head at this. I'm sorry. I can't have
Yeah.
any part of this.
Yeah. The greatest of all time at being a bad game, Ron. That's how scary is it? It's so bad that it's scary, Ron. Resident Evil 6. But yeah, unfortunately, I will have to play that one at some point. But yeah, that's
Yep.
all I've been doing, just reliving my childhood and just getting caught up in the world of Raccoon City for Halloween season, and just because I like it.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect time of year to play all those, man. Like I think you're doing a good thing over there playing those Resident Evil games. I wish I went and replayed those games this year because it's been a while since I've replayed the OG Resident Evil games. And yeah, I actually completely agree with you on the canon part of Claire A, Leon B being the canon version of that, because like that's something I've always thought about even when Remake came out, whereas like I almost felt even more affirmed with that version of the game. That's like, yep, this is definitely like the canon way that this is supposed to be experienced. So, but there you
100%.
go. Fuya, who cannot be with us because she is currently in the airport lounge at the moment, she left a list of games that she played that she wanted us to at least mention.
The most
she even
important
wrote-
thing. The most important thing is what needs to be mentioned first.
She played Stitch on Nintendo Switch.
No,
That's
no,
right. That's the most
not
That
important
was the
part.
first one on the list, Ron.
No,
what
that's
needed
not
to
the
be
most
mentioned
important
first.
thing. That's not the most important
The
thing.
Rewinders.
She played
The Rewinders demo.
the Rewinder 2 demo. She did play
Nope.
that.
Yeah.
That's
see?
not it either. That's not the most important thing.
She said
Oh.
Some Goodbyes We Made was a demo she also played as well.
Come on, that's the GOAT, Ron. That's the GOAT of demos.
And that was it. That's the end of
Come
the
on.
list.
Oh,
and
no.
also it's there's hold on. This in the list is green, highlighted in green. Matt, do not delete. I just wrote this on October 27th at 1:08 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time.
What game
He's
is
not
this?
lying
Fuya?
about that
What-
part.
What
That
game is
actually
this?
is there. That actually is there.
What game is this?
She also said she rolled credits on God of War 2018.
She did. That's the most important
Let's
thing.
go.
Everybody it's been 2 years in the making. It finally got done. She beat God of War. Finally.
Excellent.
Yeah. So proud of her. So proud of her.
Ron,
Finally got it done.
Ron, you were there at the stream. Tell us what the emotional experience was for Fuya. Did she have tears? Was it a quick cry, long cry?
No, she didn't cry at
No
all.
cry?
Me
What?
and Antics actually had a lot more going on in the chat, hyping her up, especially during the epic boss battle at the end. And no,
So
she
epic.
She was good. She was just like, oh, well, that's it. And we were just like, wait,
Oh my gosh.
keep going to the actual end of the credits, go back home so you can see an extra little thing. And,
Yeah.
she just was so unmoved by it. She was just like, whatever. Yeah.
Moved.
Yeah.
How?
yeah.
No feels.
It's okay.
Wow.
Yeah, even when they were, putting the dust out over the mountain, she was just like, I'm fine.
I mean, I
Good
kind
God.
of feel like Fully has a good point here. It was a 24-hour playthrough of the game. Wasn't really 2 years, but I'm glad. First of all, Fully, I know that you're watching. I'm glad that you finished the game. First of all, congratulations.
Congratulations.
You finally have this off
Yes.
your back. Most importantly, and again, I hope you're going to have a good flight very soon. That's all I'm going to say about
We
it.
need to know. We need to know, Fuya. When's Ragnarok? When is she playing Ragnarok?
She's already
that's
said
the big
it's not
question.
happening. We tried. It's not happening.
I mean,
She said she'll watch a Let's Play. She's not going to play that.
Ron,
Doesn't
just
count.
put it out there. I
Fully.
haven't even played that game yet. So
It's okay. It's all right. I'm disappointed on the show every day. It's fine.
I always find new ways to disappoint Ron. That's what I've learned from doing all the show for so many weeks now. It's like, yep. I always find a way to do that. So I do enjoy this list. Flea's got a good list of games that she played this week. Of course, again, this is, I think, a little bit smaller than Flea's usual list of games, just because, again, she was packing and doing other stuff this week. So as for a small list of games, I got nothing. I didn't play anything this week. So I have nothing to say during this segment at this point. You know what? I can pretend and say I played Inspector Gadget's Crazy Maze this week. And I rewatched this copy of Dean Koops's Phantoms, which is still on my desk from the RPG Cave this week, because I talked about that on the episode. But that's it. That's all I did this week. I watched Joe Bob this week. There was a really good episode of Joe Bob this week where we watched Satan's Little Helper. And the Late Night with the Devil, which was actually a really, really fun movie to watch. It's about this late night host of a 70s talk show, and he decides that he needs to boost some ratings to beat Johnny Carson, so he's going to summon the devil on live TV, and it's a very spectacular movie. So that was my week. That was my
Matt, have you seen this? Have you seen that movie?
Haven't heard of it. Sounds interesting though, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's a cool movie. It's a Shudder exclusive movie. But it came out in theaters and had like a really solid theatrical run, like as far as dollary dues that it made. So, yeah, there you go. That was kind of my week. But let's shift into topic of the week. So let's kick off the Halloween season, of course, even though this kind of been like a spooky week across Carpool Gaming. It's not just with our show. We're not the only show kind of doing a Halloween special, as it were. Because, of course, this is our last, in fact, the last Carpool podcast before Extra Life and the last one before Halloween. We, of course, just like the other shows, we wanted to talk about spooky games this week, or at least I really pushed for the idea because I love talking about spooky games. And as you can tell, I redid the lights here. They're all red to be more in line with Halloween. I don't have a Halloween costume or anything like that. I'm just wearing a pink shirt, so I'm not cool enough to wear a cool costume this week. But I wanted to just talk about some of our favorite horror games and just have a very chill Halloween conversation. And it's not so much that these games have to be necessarily horror games, because Ron, I know you in particular don't play a ton of spooky games, like a lot of horror games, but I would love for you to maybe talk to us about like some games that scared you, even if they weren't horror games, because I think that definitely does happen. There are definitely games out there that are spooky without being horror games necessarily. So yeah. I think we're gonna just go around the table, just talk about some of our favorite games that kind of fit the Halloween spirit, as it were. So. I'll actually, you know what? I'll go first since I didn't talk about any games I played this week, and to give y'all some time to kind of ruminate a little bit with the topic. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite horror games that I've talked about on many podcasts before, and this is the only one I promise that I'm going to talk about that I always talk about, because I talk about Parasite Eve a lot, I talk about Resident Evil a lot, so I'm going to kind of leave those to Matt if he wants to talk about those, or just save them because I talk about those enough on the show. But one that I talk about it a lot on, but I haven't really talked about it in a long time, is Alien Isolation. It's on the thumbnail. It's honestly one of my all-time favorite PlayStation 4 games. And it's really just kind of the Alien game I always wanted, where it's more of a stealth game. You're sneaking around this Sevastopol station that's been, thrown into mass chaos because they went down to a planet and brought a face hugger back, and someone got infected, and there's an alien running around the ship, and it's causing just mass panic between the different humans. On top of that, you've also got killer androids that are going around murdering everyone in a way for the company to kind of like cover up its tracks, but from the fact that they tried to go down to the planet and kind of bring back an alien. And I love this game. I know that it's a game that is not perfect. It's got, a lot of problems. It's very hit or miss with a lot of people. First of all, with the runtime, it does run way too long, because there is kind of like a certain segment that it feels like the game should have ended, but then they add like 10 more hours to the experience, and I'm just like, I just kind of want this to be over already. But for the most part, man, this game is really awesome, especially if you like stealth games or games like Outlast or Amnesia: The Dark Descent, where your character feels powerless, where you don't have weapons other than, good weapons that are good against androids or humans, but aren't good against the alien. And if you use them against those characters, it'll then attract the alien. So then you kind of have to use them sparingly and kind of go hide, so that the alien doesn't find you. It's just a really interesting and unique game. And I talked about this a few weeks ago when they announced the sequel, but I'm just so glad that we're getting a sequel to this game. I'd lost hope for the longest time, because the game came out 10 years ago, because it was announced during its 10th anniversary celebration that it was getting a sequel in the first place. But the fact that it had been 10 years and we hadn't heard anything, I was just thinking it was never going to happen. But Alien Isolation has got to be my first pick for this category because I love that game. And I've replayed it like 12 times because I own it on every single console it's available on, including PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 for some weird reason. And I can't wait for the sequel. So there you go. That's my first one I wanted to throw in the mix is Alien Isolation.
I don't know. On paper, like I should have really enjoyed this game because I did give it a try a few years ago, and Seth and Josh from the Backtrackers are like, this is such a game for you, just given how much you like Resident Evil and other stuff. So I played maybe 6-7 hours, and I was like, I really wasn't feeling it. So it definitely is spoopy. I'm not sure if it's the stealth aspect because, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Ryan, because again, I only played 7 hours of it, but there's minimal combat from my understanding. It's mostly exploring, puzzle solving, but there's a lot of hiding, right, and sneaking like past or around enemies or the alien. There is, right? Okay, I think
it's very much a first-person stealth game in a lot of ways.
Okay, I think that might have been the reason why I didn't get into it, just because, as I've spoken in the past, like I'm really bad at stealth games. I just don't have the patience for it. Like I just don't know, especially if it's like a very specific path. And I'm not saying that Alien Isolation does that, just because I barely played it to really determine if there's creative paths to sneak around or if it's linear. But yeah, on paper, manual saves, somebody stalking at you, spoopy vibes, great sound design. Like I remember all that stuff getting spooked out from it. But I think it must have been the stealth that just really turned me off from it. And I don't know if I need combat, but just I'm not sure what it is, because I think I played Amnesia: The Dark Descent. That's the old one, right? Like you walk around like a lantern and stuff like that. Yeah. I played that one and it was fine. Can't remember if some parts are a bit spoopy, but I don't remember. I don't think you had to sneak around too much in that one, did you?
There's no combat in Amnesia at all. It is sneaking around in puzzle solving, but it is heavier on the puzzle solving than this game, which is heavier on the stealth game. And that's the thing. I figured that I would be the only person who would be really, really interested in a game like this of the three of us after our stealth discussion, where we discovered that I was really, really the person on the panel who likes stealth the most. And yeah, this is the type of game where it's like it's a really, really good stealth game, but if you're not in stealth, it's just like, well, it's just tough to play. So I totally get that sentiment. It's a game that I think you would like if you were interested in stealth, but knowing you, Matt, this is the type of game I would normally actually not recommend it to you because I just know how you feel about stealth. But
yeah, I tried. I did try. So
yeah, well, the main thing is you tried it. You know what? I can't complain about anyone ever, not try anything. Just like Ron, isn't too mad at me because I tried God of War Ragnarok. I wasn't into it, but I at least tried it. I own that game. I own the collector's edition of God of War Ragnarok. I at least tried to,
nice.
to give it a good solid try. I just wasn't really into it, and that's okay. So there you go. But Matt, kick us off, my friend. The mayor of Raccoon City. Give us a horror game you want to talk about.
I feel like I've spoken at length about Resident Evil games on the PlayStation Drive. In fact, listeners, I challenge you to count how many times I've spoken about Resident Evil and see if you can do it. I don't think you can, because I think the number is going to be close to infinite, because I've spoken at length. So just like Ryan, I kind of want to push those games to the side just because I've spoken about the past. I'm sure it'll come up in a future episode of the PlayStation Drive. So I'll leave it at that. So I want to highlight some other spoopy games or I wouldn't even say they are spoopy, but they have spoopy vibes or some spoopy moments that just kind of, that don't get highlighted enough. And I think the first one I really want to jump into is the Telltale games, The Walking Dead. And I think on paper, what's wrong?
Ron went hide and pegged. He was going to talk about it.
I was going to talk about it. How dare you?
We can talk about it together. I'll talk about the best.
We can.
Yeah, team up, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, or I can talk about the best one. I can talk about the fourth season with Alvin Jr.
Don't you dare talk about that one.
We can't pretend it doesn't exist.
No.
I'd rather do that.
We'll team up on this one, Ron. I remember playing the first one very vividly, and the spoopiness about it is I feel like they did such a good job at really hitting home an important aspect of The Walking Dead, which is you really don't know who's safe. And I feel like that's such an important aspect of the TV show, of the comic books. I think I read like the first few issues of the graphic novel, and then the TV series. I stopped after like season 3 or whatever, but at least the first few seasons and the first issues of the graphic novel, they really hit home that nobody's safe from this crew. Like even if you think they're like an anchor for the supporting cast, like they could be gone. And I feel like the game really nailed that home. And I think what the game really excelled at was the fact that it's choice based ish. I mean, at least there was the illusion of that, the fact that your choices matter, and they did a good job at it. Especially for me, that was my first Telltale game, so for me, like the choices really did matter. So having your choices, like literally lead to life or death for certain characters that I grew attached to. I found that very stressful and spoopy, to be quite honest, and you know, just I'm trying to think of the other Telltale games, like the Batman one, Game of Thrones, like and even like The Wolf Among Us. Like choices matter, but I don't think that they're in the sense of like this person could die, right? Or your choices could cause have massive ripple effects on this community or whatever it is. And I feel like that's such a beautiful thing that they captured in season 1. I don't think that they captured that same feeling in subsequent series of the game, unfortunately. And
Well, it had diminishing
I
returns. Like you could definitely feel it. As they went on, you're just feeling it less and less a little bit.
it's the sad part, yeah. And I don't know if it's due to budget constraints or maybe they're stretched too thin or that time, and or perhaps again I could have just nostalgia blinders, and just because like I said, that was the first Telltale game that I ever played, so it felt very very special to me. And then, not going to spoil it, but if you get to the end, there's a massive thing that happens where an important character lives or die, or again, I don't want to give it away, but that really to me was it really captured that. And I love that thing about The Walking Dead. And it is scary to lose somebody that you care deeply about, and all in the world is ending, there's zombies, you're not sure what's happening, and you're trying to protect the ones you love. Like it was just executed phenomenally. And the fact that that game won, just got critically recognized by critics and fans. I'm so happy that it was recognized. But again, it's unfortunate that the rest of the series didn't kind of follow through in terms of quality. So I liked season 2. Season 3 I didn't like, and then season 4 was okay-ish for the most part. But yeah, I enjoyed The Walking Dead. But Ron, you tell us, why is that one of your favorite spoopy games?
Season 1, you pretty much summed it up. It's more about the tension more than the horror of it. And like you said, trying to keep everybody alive. You had to sit there and pretty much contend with the zombies, but you also had to contend with the human element, because they were just as much monsters as the zombies were. So, you never knew who was going to die. So you're constantly trying to, okay, if I have to get into a situation where I'm going to end up having to choose between two people, who am I going to choose? And oftentimes you got stuck with a choice. If you liked both people, you were kind of just like, this is going to suck. So like you said, it was more about the tense moments on that. And I'm with you. Season 1 hit so high that none of the other seasons kind of really came close. I think New Frontier, I know you're not a big fan of that one. I think New Frontier kind of rebounded for the series a little bit.
I was going to say, I was about to get to that, Ron. I also really like season 3.
Yeah, I thought New Frontier was good. Season 2 was okay. There was a lot of things that I did not like about season 2. It was definitely better than the last season, that's for sure. I was not a fan of that. You know how I feel about Alvin.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, like, if I was to rank,
he's so likable.
For me, it would be like season 1, then 3, then 2, then 4.
yeah,
That's kind of how I.
Wow.
I could agree with that.
4's on the bottom for the two of you, eh?
Yeah. 4 just kind of, I don't know, man. It was just one of those things where I'm glad that they got to. I'm glad that they got to come back and kind of like finish it and close it out. But at the same time, it was just one of those things where after I had finished, I actually found myself like, I think I would have been okay with maybe them not being able to come back and finish this.
Really?
Yeah, it's just the quality just was not
really
there.
didn't like that one, eh?
Yeah, the quality just wasn't there, and the writing was just not great like it had been. And
I just felt like with that one, they just really lost the magic. Like, I especially too, like, because I liked season 3 so much, like it just hurt so much more that it wasn't at the quality that I was hoping for with the last season. And,
yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't really love what the story went either, and it was just like I just wasn't really. By the end of it, we just wanted it to be over. So that's
the way I was. That's the way I was.
I remember season 4, and yeah, it definitely is not. It definitely doesn't meet the caliber of season 1 for sure. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like because you know how they did the thing of like releasing episodes like every few months apart.
Yeah.
Isn't this when the company went under? Like, and it was halfway.
Yeah, which
through
is
the
part of the
season,
reason
right?
why I think like it kind of released the way it did.
Yeah.
This is
You can
basically
definitely tell
the
it was
last
rushed
game.
toward the end. That's for sure.
Yeah, this was the last game they released before Telltale went under. So yeah,
I think for me, that's why I think it had like a huge emotional impact for me, because yeah, I do agree with the two of you that it is not as good as the other ones, but I think for me, it's just nice knowing that I get some sort of conclusion, because to me, it's very tragic when some game series or TV or movies, it's like clearly there's more to the story, there's more to the world, and it just gets cut by its legs. Like Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, like come on, like it breaks my heart that there's not going to be a sequel to it. So I think for me, just even though I agree the conclusion's not the best, I still feel emotionally happy that there's some sort of conclusion to it, just because Clementine means so much to me as a video game player, that there was a conclusion. And then I don't know, maybe I wasn't following the news correctly, but I remember when the company went under, and I was like, does that mean I don't see the rest of this game? And I was starting to actually freak out. Like I wasn't sure if it would come out, because who's going to release it? And like I think I only played episode 1, so I don't know. Yeah, I do listen. Alvin Jr. I jokes aside, like he's very poorly written, and season 1 does such a good job at giving you that the role of a protector, of really protecting Clementine at all stakes. Like she's so precious to you. And I feel like season 4 tried to recapture that with Alvin Jr., but like
it just wasn't the same.
Like, yo, this kid's
Clem
annoying.
Was great,
like,
man. I mean, as a kid, Clem was probably about one of the best like kid characters in a game like ever at that point in time. And then it's just like you said, they tried to recapture that and have her play the role of Lee with Alvin, and Alvin Jr. was just not Clem whatsoever. It's just I spent pretty much the whole final season putting him in danger every chance I could, hoping that he would get killed off, and it didn't happen.
You're such a
get out of
bad
my way,
parental
Alvin.
figure, Ron. Jesus.
I'm sorry, I hated him.
God.
Alvin makes a lot of poor choices. Like it is annoying. It's true. So yeah, they didn't capture that. And like you said, Ron, like Clementine, like to me, it's like one of like the most important video game characters I've ever encountered. Like it's truly, truly remarkable what they did with that one.
Yeah, man, that first season's one of the goats.
I'm just going to throw it out there, and this is kind of how I felt about it. And this is also why I was just not as excited for season 4, was like, I kind of got the ending I wanted for Clementine at the end of season 2, where she leaves with Alvin Jr. in the first place. And like,
Yeah, sure.
I liked one of the things I liked about New Frontier with season 3 was that it wasn't about Clementine. I liked the fact that it was about other characters, and this started fresh. And yes, Clementine was in the story, kind of like woven in as a side character, but she wasn't the main focus. And I thought that was actually really refreshing. So then, like, because then I kind of already had seen everything I needed to see for Clementine. So I think that's also for me personally why I wasn't super jazzed about the 4th episode either. Was just like, I kind of was done with Clementine's story, and I kind of just wanted it to be something new. And they were just giving us more Clementine, which was fine, but it was just like, again, combine that with the poor writing, and it was just like, I don't.
Yeah, it just wasn't good.
Yeah, but
I really need to play New Frontier again, don't I? Like with the different
I think
perspective.
you should, man. New Frontier, like I said, it was a good game. It wasn't better than the first, but I would say it definitely deserves to be up there. At least, like I said, to me, I think it's better than 2.
it had the stakes back from the first season, which I really, really thought kind of elevated over the other seasons. So, but anyways. That's The Walking Dead. We got a little sidetracked, but Walking Dead was cool. I'm glad we had this conversation, because it's been a while since we've talked about Walking Dead. Like at least since I've talked about it on a podcast, and I like those games a lot. And I haven't.
If anybody
really
hasn't played it, you need to play those games. They are available again. Definitely give them a run. Especially like I said, season 2. A lot of people are kind of on back and forth on that one. Season 2 was okay, but I think New Frontier and definitely that season 1 are definitely the high points of that series. Yeah.
And the best part is if you play them now, as opposed to when they were first coming out, all of the technical problems for the most part.
Yes.
Ironed out.
Oh my gosh.
Because they did that collection, the Walking Dead collection, which had all 4 seasons in it on PlayStation 4. That did have like a new engine that then fixed a lot of that stuff.
Yep.
Because if you played those games on PlayStation 3 when they came out, boy, oh, howdy.
Janky.
They were janky.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what. Or even the early PS4 ones, man. Like some of them were like playing season 2. Oh man, there was some jankiness. But anyways, moving on. There's a game I've been really excited to talk about for a while because there's actually an HD re-release of this game coming out later this year. So a lot of people are going to get the chance to play this game for the first time because it originally came out on the PlayStation 2 and it hasn't seen a re-release since the PlayStation 2. But it's based off a movie that everyone really likes, or at least a lot of people do in the horror community. And that's The Thing.
The Thing. Okay.
John Carpenter's The Thing. Coming back in video game form, of course, we got the Thing video game on the PlayStation 2, which was set kind of in like the same scenario as the movie, where you're in like this Antarctic facility and this shape-shifting alien comes in and starts swapping bodies with people and, of course, murdering the people it swaps bodies with. And you have to figure out who the Thing was. And what was interesting about this game, because I don't think either of you all played this, was it played out like the movie, where when you got to certain points in the game and you'd have to guess who the Thing was, it was different every time you played it. Like it was a different person. Okay. So it wasn't like you could just use a guide and be like, oh, it's always Steve who's the Thing at this point in the story. Got to murder him. Because if you make the wrong choice, bad things happen to you. And other people die off and it changes the story. It's in a really interesting way. Like it's a really cool third person action game that, again, just a lot of people missed because it was a game that just didn't really, wasn't, hit critical masses on the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. But I think this game is super cool, especially if you like The Thing, the movie. I like this is a slam dunk. I can't wait for this re-release to come out. And for
the remaster trailer, I think, released this week, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the game comes out, I think, next month. So, yeah. The Thing is a game I want people to keep their eyes on because I think it is kind of like an underrated horror game, like one that, again, a lot of people missed out on the PlayStation 2, but the original Xbox, but one that I still think really holds up to this day. So, gotta give my shout out to The Thing.
I think Matt will be a fan.
Yeah, I think Matt, you'd actually probably like that game.
All right, I'll take a look later.
You should watch the trailer. It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, and especially too if y'all like the movie The Thing, like. It's a slam dunk. That movie's awesome, and so is the game. So, there you go. Well, Matt, hit us with your next one after The Walking Dead.
All right, the next one I want to talk about is a PlayStation exclusive, and not just a PlayStation exclusive, an exclusive to the PS4, and it's not available anymore. That's right, friends. I'm talking about PT, the playable teaser
my God, that's
from
such a
Kojima.
Good one.
I know I talked about it in my Pants episode, but and it's unfortunate because I want to say like if you haven't played, you should go play it, but you can't download it anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're lucky enough that you downloaded it like I did, when it came out, and you did not get rid of your OG PS4 or wherever it is, then play it again, just because that game is so spoopy, friends. Like, oh my goodness. You're just stuck in the same hallway over and over and over again. But things keep changing as you interact with different items. There's no weapons. There's no sneaking around. You're just trying to get out of this endless loop of a hallway. It just keeps repeating itself. But it's very dark. It's very spoopy. Every time you interact with something changes a bit. And Kojima's just a master of horror. Like he knows exactly what's going to happen. Like when you go to the phone and you don't hear it ring, but then you walk away, then it rings, you come back. Just little things like that. Like he knows exactly what you're going to be thinking and feeling and what you're doing, and he uses that against you to spook, the poop out of your pants. Like it is so terrifying. Like I played this lights on. Friends were backseat gaming with me, and like we were all spooked out like, so hard. I'll never forget just walking through and finally, because every time, Ron, have you guys played this before? Have you played PT?
Oh yeah,
I actually did play the demo. Yes.
Okay, very good. So you know how there's one part where there's a balcony and you can look up? There's a bit, yeah, if you go through one part, there's like an upper tier balcony and there's nothing there. And then one time you look up, good God, somebody walks through there. And like, oh, Jesus.
Yep.
Just stuff like that. Like, it is so terrifying. And
well, even just the way it plays with audio design too, because like you're walking by like the bathroom hallway and you hear like a crying baby in there on the right hand side, and you're like, you don't know if you want to actually open the door, but it kind of forces you to open the door.
No, thank you.
And it's just the sink is just overflowing with blood, and you're just like, oh my God.
I remember one of the times where like the door's like halfway open, and I think I walked up really close to it just to see if I could peek through, and then the door slams in front of you or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, good God, it is so good. It truly is a travesty that we never got to see what Kojima's game would look like. And again, maybe it would have turned out to be cheeks, like Ron would say, but we'll never know. I think that's what the saddest part is, just because you can see that he obviously was interested in his project, and he obviously had some ideas, and it is, to me, it's a shame that we couldn't see it come to fruition. And then, letting the players and the masses decide if this is something we want to continue to see in the Silent Hill series. But unfortunately, we'll never know. But again, if you downloaded it and you haven't played it in a while, I highly recommend it, just because to me it's very, very spoopy, and I highly recommend it. And yeah, I still have my PS4 OG; it's still there, but I haven't beaten it. I have not beaten it, and I've watched YouTube walkthroughs, and I don't know if it's just because I'm just an idiot or because I'm so spooked out I can't think clearly to do what I'm supposed to do in a YouTube video.
Very specific order, and if you don't
Right?
do it in the specific order, you don't get to the end.
I think I'm just so scared that I can't think straight, and I miss something. I think that's what's happening,
This
because I've
sounds like
watched a
something you
YouTube
need to do
video.
before Halloween's over, Matt. Maybe you need to go ahead and pull the OG PS4 out and beat PT.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's time's crunching. There's not a lot of time left.
Well, I'm
now.
about to say you only got like a week.
I mean, it only takes like 45 minutes to finish.
I was about to say, yeah,
As
I
if
feel
you
something
know
like
what
an
the
hour.
path is. Yeah.
It's
You can do
stressful. 45 minutes of stress. 45 minutes of stress, guys. Come on.
Ah, you can do it.
You can do it. It's fine.
Yeah. What's interesting, Matt, is that we'll never see what that game looks like, because Kojima already came out in interviews after the fact and told us that PT was not indicative of what the game was actually supposed to be. It was going to be like a third-person action game like Silent Hill usually is. And this was
Really?
just his way of showing off like the trailer itself and kind of hiding it in the most Kojima way possible. But the PT itself was not supposed to be a slice of what the game was actually supposed to look like, if that makes any sense.
He
Yes.
spent all that time and money to make something that he wasn't going to use for the
You
mainline
know
game.
how
Seriously?
Kojima is on a
I was
spaceship.
just
That's just how
gonna
he gets
say,
down.
Yeah, that is very much Kojima. I mean,
That's just how he gets down. He's on a spaceship all the time.
I mean,
my
did you
God.
not play Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes? Like, come on, man. That's like that. It's kind of, it reeks of that same kind of thought process.
Oh my God. Listen, I love Metal Gear Solid, the mainline series. I love Kojima, but you know what? If that's what he's doing with time and money, I can kind of see why Konami's getting a little frustrated, eh? It's like,
Yeah.
you're going to spend millions of dollars on something you're not going to use later? Seriously, guy? Seriously? I'm sorry.
That is
I had
kind
no
of the
idea. I
Kojima
thought that was
influence.
the
This
taste
is
of
what
it.
happens when you give somebody the keys to the castle. It's just
Oh,
do whatever they want to do.
Yep. All right, Ron,
There's other
who's
ways
with your next one?
I'm gonna go with Arcane's Prey. It's not a horror game, but there are several moments in that game that will sit there and it kind of cut you off guard. At least in the early hours of the game. By the time you get to like the middle and the end, you're pretty much a god, and nothing will scare you anymore. But when you're starting off slow and you're kind of sitting there getting a feel for the environments. When you first run into the Mimic and when you first run into the Nightmare, man, there's some jumpy moments in that game. Or when you're going through the bathroom for the first time to get to another area and a damn poltergeist comes out of nowhere. Yeah, that game it's fantastic though, despite the horror elements. I'll put heavy quotes
No,
around that.
I'm gonna actually argue with you a little bit with this, Ron.
You would
because
call it
I
a horror
don't-
game?
I think that it is a horror-like game, but it is not necessarily like a traditional horror movie. It's like kind of like a game that has a lot of horror elements to it, but it's not a horror game. It kind of reminds me of BioShock in that way, because BioShock kind of feels like a survival horror game, despite the fact that it doesn't feel like a horror, like a true horror experience. But it's got a lot of scary moments, and that's kind of what Prey kind of reminds me of too.
Yeah, Prey definitely had his moments like that. But fantastic game though. And like I said, by the time I got back to the middle part of it, I wasn't really worried about anything anymore. I pretty much was just destroying everything. But like I said, those first few hours, man, you run into, they were very good about bringing in a new enemy. Like, okay, I think they've gotten used to this one. Let's bring in this one. And especially every time the Nightmare showed up, that was always like, okay, well, that was just always just great how they introduced that. So, yeah, definitely Prey. fantastic game. People should try that. That's when Arcane was once again in its prime, before the Redfall, moments. So, yeah, definitely play that one. But yeah, Prey was so good. So good.
Nice, man. That's a good pick. That's a game that I think is really solid and really underappreciated, because I think a lot of people miss out on that one. Okay. Last one for me is going to be an interesting one, because this is a game that I know didn't review very well, because at the time it was really limited by technology, the technology that the game was really designed around. However, if you play it with modern technology using a modern microphone, this game actually controls and plays pretty well, and is actually a really solid survival horror game that I have a very soft spot for. Like, this is a game that Ryan hits Ryan in the feels whenever he thinks about it, and he's like, man, that's actually a really good game, despite the fact that the technology really got in the way of that game. And the game I'm referring to is the PlayStation 2 classic, sticking with Konami here, Lifeline, from the PlayStation 2. Now, if y'all have never heard of Lifeline before, this is actually a survival horror sci-fi game where you take control of a person that's not on screen, but you're controlling the actions of a person on screen. Her name is Rio, and she's a waitress who's in this alien spaceship, or sorry, this normal human space station that then gets taken over by these horrific aliens. And you have to communicate all of her actions to her using voice commands. There are no button prompts in this game.
Oh.
It is voice chat only is how you play this game. Now, at the time, this was a really ambitious game in the PlayStation 2 era. But unfortunately, the headset it came with and the fact that, voice recognition technology at the time is awful. It was not very good. So when you would talk into the microphone to Rio and tell her to open a door or hide in the closet or grab the shotgun, she would just stare at the camera and wonder what you were not talking about or do the completely wrong thing.
Oh no!
But
oh, no.
through the power of modern emulation and modern microphones, you can actually play this game now the way it was intended to be played, using proper voice commands and be able to guide Rio through this experience. So again, it plays just like a Resident Evil game where you're going around the spaceship, you're gathering supplies, you're gathering weapons, and you have kind of limited resources available to you. And there are these alien creatures just roaming the halls, and you can either take them out or just run past them. I just really, really love the design of this game. The music is great. It's got fantastic audio design, and this game is really good. It's too bad because I think this game would have gone down as a much better game in people's experiences if the technology was there. But it was so ambitious that it tried to do something new, and it couldn't actually nail it back in the past. And of course, Rybo brings up an interesting point here. What would people around you think of you just yelling, use the shotgun at random times? I mean, people would walk by my house and they would give me crazy looks. You never know. But yeah, because you were essentially like a dude in a control room walking this woman through how to basically escape with her life.
The concept actually sounds very cool.
Yeah.
It does.
That's the thing.
It's very clever.
It's such a unique and clever design. And yeah, it's just like people were trying voice activated games at the time. We had Tom Clancy's End War and a bunch of other experiences like that were purely voice commanded, and just none of those worked because of the technology at the time. But playing that through a modern lens, I think it's actually a pretty good game, and one that, again, like I said, is super nostalgic to me. I actually really like playing this game, despite the fact that there's the many videos out there of people being frustrated trying to talk to this game. So, got to give the shout out to Lifeline on the PlayStation 2, a game that I like very much, but I totally understand why people are not into it. Because, like I said, if you're not into voice controlled video games, you're probably not going to be into this game. But I don't know, there was just something about it that was just really special to me and just hit me in the right way, and that's why it made it on my 3 games I wanted to highlight tonight.
All right.
Sounds like a very cool concept. It's too bad that the technology wasn't there back then.
Yeah. It's something that, honestly, in the modern day, I would love to see someone take another stab at, like a video game like this. I think that would be really interesting.
It could work now.
Yeah. But
It'd be great content watching somebody do that too.
100%. Oh man, there was an old episode of X Play from back in the day where Adam Sessler reviewed this game, and just the videos of him just trying to talk to the game and what the game is interpreting.
You know what? Now you brought up Adam Sessler. I was starting to think I may have saw this video review, but I didn't know that was the game.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so hilarious. Oh
he was so frustrated. I remember this.
Yeah. Because like I said, the PS2 headset was not a very good headset. So,
oh man.
Yeah, or I should say, it was not designed to be a top quality microphone for voice recognition. You know, that was not the design of the PlayStation headset. Of course, Rybo, of course, chimes in and mentions, "Hey You Pikachu" was also voice controlled too, and it was also equally terrifying. I mean, he's not
What game is that? I've never even heard of that. Hey You Pikachu?
You haven't heard of that one?
I'm pretty sure that's
No.
an N64 game where you talk
Shame
to
on
Pikachu.
you, man.
Yeah.
You're a
Just shame on
Pokemon guy.
me.
You have like 8 million of the Pokemon cards. What's going on here?
My son is a Pokemon guy. I'm Pokemon adjacent because he likes it.
Yeah.
I didn't play them as a kid. Yeah,
I mean,
I'm Pokemon
this
adjacent.
game's genres, Matt, according to Wikipedia, are life simulation game and simulation game, where you talk to Pikachu using the Nintendo 64 microphone, and Pikachu does not do anything that you tell him to do.
Much like
kind
the
of
real
game
Pikachu from the cartoon.
I don't know. That is kind of scary. You should not be given a game where you get to talk to Pikachu and you're having a friend through the game. That's
Honestly, it probably
Kinda
was
weird.
better than Lifeline at the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it probably had that
boy.
going for it.
Pikachu never listened to Ash. I mean, so
That is
it's
kinda
quite
true.
Yeah.
It's canonical. But I mean, I kind of had the same problem with the bird dog in The Last Guardian, because he never really listened to me either. So, God, everyone forgets that game even existed, and I'm just like,
I forgot about it till you mentioned it. And then I was like, yeah, you're right.
yeah, I can't believe that was a game that came out. All right, Matt, hit us up. What's the final game you want to highlight tonight, my friend?
last game I just want to highlight is another PlayStation one is Until Dawn. I know the remake just recently came out, and
Oh,
it's just a
Matt,
fun one.
Dang it,
That's a fun
scoundrel.
one. It's a good. Were you gonna highlight that one?
I
For real?
was.
Let's
Look
go.
at that.
Highlight
We
it
are
together.
on fire
Highlight it
today,
together.
Ron. Yes. The cohesion. Right
Yeah,
there.
once
the
again,
cohesion's happening
it
tonight.
happens.
I like it. I just like that one just because I think it's a really good one for backseat gaming where it's enjoyable for people to watch as you're playing it, or if you want to stream it. Like it's just, obviously it's very story heavy. There's exploring for it and a lot of choices you have to make, but it just really captures that. I don't want to say it's campy in the sense that like it's too
It is.
cheesy where it's not funny, or it's campy, but like not over the top where like it ruins it. Like I think it's obviously intentionally done to kind of capture like those type of campy horror films, but still stressful. Like it's still got the spoopy vibes in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the cheese factor. So I did not get to play it this year, unfortunately. So I'm not buying new games, but I look forward to trying the remake next year because I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I know a lot of people had negative reviews for the remake, but I know that those were mostly due to technical reasons. And that's why like I kind of put it down because I'm excited for when that kind of gets all patched out and when we get the PS5 Pro enhancements for it. Like I think that's gonna be really cool to replay. But Ron, tell us real quick about Until Dawn since you also had that as well.
I mean, it's the same as what Matt said. I mean, it was campy. It was ham and cheese going on, but it wasn't to the point where it was over the top where you were kind of like this severe B-rated like horror stuff. But but it was enjoyable though. It wasn't. It had its moments where it was kind of spooky, but especially when you got to the mine area and you was just like, yeah, this is going really ham. but really enjoyable. Good time with the game. Matter of fact, I need to go back and platinum that one now that I think about it.
Nice.
I don't have the
you never
platinum either.
either,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the
No,
only one with
I
the
didn't
Until
either.
Dawn platinum. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You
I
are.
might have to go back and play that one.
I actually kind of want to now replay, get the platinum for the remake as well and have both platinums. But
Yes.
nice. Well, last one I'm gonna really. I know we kind of went around already, but I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Friday the 13th, the game. Of course, one of my favorite multiplayer games of all time. And I love Friday the 13th as well. It's a franchise, and I think that game is just perfect the way it is. Even though it's a glitchy mess, I love that game. I mean, it's ever so fitting of the franchise it's based off of, which is just all too perfect. But I love playing as Jason and going around and murdering camp counselors. I think it's fun. But we got to, of course, go to the questions this week from the carpool because I don't know if y'all knew this, but turns out Halloween brings out everybody for the questions. So shout out to everyone, by the way, for writing in questions this week.
Yeah,
Really
thanks a lot.
it.
Fam showed up.
Let's go through this. We're going to start with Drellesh, who says, "Greetings, PlayStation Drive crew. Can you remember which was your first ever spooky horror game? Which was your first jump scare that burned itself into your memory?" So what was the first horror game we even played? For me, it was OG Resident Evil 2 that Matt, I guess, is playing now. But my cousin rented it from the local video store, and he didn't have a memory card. So we were both trying to get as far as we could in Resident Evil 2 before we needed to save. And it was not very far. But I remember really enjoying that game to the point where then I went and picked it up later and thoroughly enjoyed my time with Resident Evil 2. But it was Resident Evil 2. It was definitely my first horror game I ever played. But what about you guys?
OG Resident Evil 1. That was my very first one.
Nice. Nice.
That as far as jump scares go, that damn dog through the damn window.
They knew it.
Man,
they got everybody.
Yeah, man, that was because we actually played that. I played that over at a friend's house. So I think we had rented it. It was a whole bunch of us, and Resident Evil was like the talk of the town. And I remember we went up to Blockbuster, we got it, and like I said, we all started playing it. And like I said, that damn dog came through the window, and everybody jumped. But great game.
It's
though,
iconic.
Man. Like I said, yeah, it is. It really is. It really is. That's just a classic one. Yeah. So good. So good.
That's such an iconic moment, Ron. And the thing is, in the Resident Evil 1 remake, when you go through that same hallway, the window cracks, but nobody jumps through. So it really messes with you if you're familiar.
It up.
Yeah, because you're like waiting for it, and you're like, you hear a crack, and like, oh, but nothing happens. And you kind of either rush through it or you walk slowly because you're waiting for them to jump through, and it never happens. So that part is truly iconic.
Yeah, everybody seems to know about the dog moment.
Yep. Now, I didn't mention this because I didn't answer the second half of Drellish's question before I passed it off to y'all, which was with the first jump scare. That's the thing. I don't remember what my first jump scare is, but the one that's burned into my memory is actually a more recent game. It's from Resident Evil 8. And Matt, you've played Resident Evil 8, so you probably know which section I'm about to describe when I talk about it. There's a section in the middle of the game where you're just exploring the village, trying to progress to the next area, and you get to this kind of like this house, and there's like a little like telescope inside that, or binoculars inside the house, and there's a little sign. It says look through me. So you look in the binoculars and you're zooming something in the distance, and it takes a second for this to happen. But then all of a sudden, like this loud noise pops up, and a werewolf appears right in front of the binoculars, and I freaked out, man. That totally got me in a way that no other video game jump scare has ever gotten me before.
It's such a good moment because it's like something's gotta happen. It's setting it up so perfectly for a jump scare. But same thing like you, Ryan. In my head, I'm like, it's gonna happen. And surely enough, it happens. It still scares me.
I wanted to look through the binoculars, so I'm like, no, thank you.
But it's you can't progress through the game if you don't.
That would have been the end of the game then. No thanks.
That's a good one. Yeah, Drellesh, I'm like Ryan. The first one that I remember is obviously Resident Evil 2. A jump scare was from Resident Evil 2 OG. And so, yeah, I remember if you play the first playthrough, spoiler alert, you don't encounter Mr. X, who chases you through the Raccoon Police Department. But when you play the scenario B afterwards, he shows up. And I remember very distinctively the first time he smashes through a wall. And I'm like, good God, that was a jump scare. But it's when I leave that room and go down the hallway, he jumps through the wall again. That part got me so bad because surely enough, I'm like, I left. Because if you played Resident Evil games, basically once you leave the room where the enemy is, they don't follow you. You're kind of safe because they can't follow you through the door or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I know how this game works. I've left the room where he is. I'm fine. Nope. Boom. Smashes through the wall again. I was like, good God, just leave me alone, man. Jeez. So that part got me real good.
That actually is interesting because that actually got a lot of people with the remake version of it where they thought when they went to the safe room in the lobby of the police station.
Yes,
it was a safe room in the first kind of act, but then when you revisit it and Mr. X is there, most people don't realize Mr. X is right behind them, and it takes them out because they're like, oh, it's a safe room. He's not supposed to be able to enter it, and it becomes not a safe room the second time you revisit it, which is interesting. I love
that's
that they did
how
that
I
for
was
the
the
remake,
first time
they
he
did
showed
little
up.
things like that too.
Mm-hmm. I was like, you can't be in here. You're cheating. It was so astonishing to see him in there. It's so good. So good.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Cwaggy, who says, "It is I, the Cwaggy, king of the Xenobabes, with extra life occurring during the next scheduled PlayStation Drive. Will y'all be recording to a live studio audience in Rome, New York? Also, will you be debuting the first PlayStation Drive post-show as well?" So, first off, Cwaggy, there will be an episode of the PlayStation Drive next week, or this week. Again, I think that's going to be on Sunday night, and I don't know if people were going to be in front of us when we do that, but Matt Fooey and I are all going to be in the same room to do that episode. Coming to you all live on the internet. But yeah, I don't know if we figured that out yet. But as far as yes, there will be a PlayStation Drive next week. And no, there's no post-show because like the Nintendo Drive, who's also stated that they're not doing a post-show this week either, there will be no post-show for the PlayStation Drive this week. I'm sorry. But all right. Next question comes to us from Solo, who says, "Do you each like more of a horror game that is fast-paced like a Resident Evil game, or more sneak/narrative-driven like The Quarry or A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead? I feel like I tend to lean more towards the latter, having played Alien Isolation and The Quarry, but never played a Resident Evil or Silent Hill games." That's interesting. Solo's kind of like the opposite of you, Matt, where they like the kind of sneaking around kind of games and not so much the survival horror aspect of it, the combat aspect. But
I'm surprised just because. Yeah, go ahead, Ren.
Matt, I was gonna say, I feel like I'm pretty close in the middle. Like I like both because I like stealth games and I like combat. So I don't really favor one or the other. I kind of like both. I mean, I love Silent Hill 2 and I love The Quarry and all the Supermassive style games. So honestly, I kind of like both of these. But go ahead and see what you're gonna say, Matt.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I just need some sense of being able to defend myself. It's almost like too powerless when there's nothing for me to do besides run and hide away. So my personal preference, definitely, I need some combat, like Dead Space or Resident Evil, where I can at least fight back, and sneaking around can be an option. But at least let me, punch them back or something. I don't know. I don't want to be helpless in the game.
Okay. Ron, how about you? I know again you don't really play spooky games, but if you had to choose.
I went Matt. I gotta have something where I don't want to feel defenseless. Like Alien Isolation, great, interesting story. Gameplay would drive me nuts. I don't want to spend the whole game hiding out or, sneaking around the whole game. No thanks. Give me something like
you don't
Dead
want to spend
Space.
15 minutes hiding underneath a desk?
That's
so
okay. That's all right. No thanks. I'd rather let me get something like Dead Space or something where I can, like I said, fight back and defend myself. No, thank you. Alien Isolation. Great story. No on the gameplay for me.
Weapons free, Ron, right? Weapons free.
Weapons free.
I'm cool with stealth. I like stealth. So. Next up, we got Final Fantasy VIII is Life. Final Fantasy VIII is Love. Awesome, Dave. You need to change your name soon, please.
I like it. It's
I want him to go back to Awesome Dave 1337.
I kind of do too. Anyways, Final Fantasy VIII is Life. Final Fantasy VIII is Love asks, I have a question for Matt specifically. What is the best spooky game on PlayStation, and why is it Resident Evil 2?
These are facts, Awesome Dave. We know that's true. I'm just kind of curious if you're referring to, the OG on the PlayStation 1, or you're referring to the remake, or the correct answer, which is, come on, say it with me, Ron.
Code Veronica?
Full experience.
The one full experience.
Code Veronica is good, Ron. It's not a bad game, right? People poop on that one. It's not
I had to
that
get
bad.
you. I had to get you.
You did get me, though. Jeez. You're right, Awesome Dave. It's one full experience. Resident Evil 2, baby. You're right.
I mean, all the first 3 Resident Evil games and Code Veronica are all kind of one full experience anyways. So
That's true.
That's right.
This is when the one full experience is correct. Yes.
There it is.
See? Next up, we got Kiku, who says, I unfortunately don't get scared or startled easily, so I don't get any type of thrill from horror games or movies. Maybe spending the first few years of my life homeless in the woods of northern Georgian mountains made me immune to scary things. Since horror games generally bore me, I think the only one I put any time into was Resident Evil 2 on the N64, of all places.
Oh.
Of all places, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that one, to be honest.
Maybe I'll give horror games another chance and pick up Resident Evil 2 when it releases on PlayStation 5. Well, Kiku, it's already out on PlayStation 5. It's just the physical copy is coming out. But my question is, would you be afraid to be homeless in the deep, dark woods? Yes. Yes, that's scary. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
I mean, just being
I wouldn't want to be
itself.
homeless anywhere, so definitely not the damn woods. That's for sure. No thanks.
Now,
No, I'd be dead very quickly. No thanks.
Yeah. No thanks.
Now, here's the thing, Kiku, because I want to rein this in a little bit, where you talk about the fact that you don't get scared or startled, so that's why you don't really gain thrill from horror or movies or games. But like, I don't really get scared while playing horror games or watching horror movies, but I still really enjoy them anyways, because I just like almost the tone of it, horror more than anything. Like, I don't get scared, but I don't know. I just like seeing the protagonists of the story feeling underpowered or feel like they have to rise to beat a challenge in the way that they do in a horror movie or a horror game. And that's more the thing I like more enjoyed, or just the creepy monsters or some of the creepy stuff you see in horror movies, where even though it doesn't really scare me, I don't know. There's just something about me, being a weird human being that just likes that stuff. So, yeah, I just feel like you don't have to be scared to like horror movies. I think that you can enjoy them even if you don't get scared. But that's just how I feel about it. But next up, we got Croco Kyle, who says, yesterday marked 24 years since the PlayStation 2 released in North America. What are some of y'all's favorite memories of the PlayStation 2? For me, it was how I was introduced to Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter, two series that I hold a soft spot to this day. I also sunk loads of summer hours into Guitar Hero on PlayStation 2. So, interestingly enough, Croco Kyle, I've talked about this on other podcasts before, but the PlayStation 2 was the last of the three consoles I got that generation. Like, it was the one that I didn't really buy games for until much later, like definitely well after the PlayStation 2 had stopped shipping games for it. Like in the PS4 generation is when I really started to play PS2 games a lot. So my memories, believe it or not, of a lot of the games that came out on PlayStation 2 from when they came out were mostly playing them on Xbox or playing them on GameCube, like playing X-Men Legends 2 or playing, Red Faction, or a lot of those games I played on Xbox or GameCube. Like, I didn't really play a lot of that stuff on PlayStation 2. And it was also, too, just one of those things where the PlayStation 2 was just the weakest of those three consoles. So for me, that was part of the reason why I just didn't feel compelled to get it right away. But over the years, I've really come to appreciate it for the games that I've gone back and played, because I think it's one of the best consoles for horror games, for RPGs, for a lot of genres that I really like. The PlayStation 2 has honestly got one of the best libraries for that stuff. So for me, it's just one of those things where, like, most of my special memories come for the PlayStation 2 afterwards, and it was like stuff playing Silent Hill 3 for the first time, or even just getting into the Silent Hill series in general was all on the PlayStation 2 for me. For God's sakes, the first time I played Pepsi Man was on a PlayStation 2. So got to give that a shout out. But I've hogged up enough time giving this long-winded explanation, so I'll turn it over to my two co-hosts. What are y'all's memories of the PlayStation 2 like?
It's ironic that me and Matt were having a discussion earlier about the midnight release of the PlayStation 2. And I talked about how great it was, and everybody was out there for it. PS2 was a great console. I mean, Vice City, San Andreas, the Ratchet and Clank games, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, Sly Cooper games. I mean, come on, Gran Turismo. I mean, God of War 1 and 2 is just so many hits. And Ryan brought up the X-Men Legends game. So it's just, PS2 just had so many different genres that it covered, and it just hit on so much stuff. PS2 was just so great. It was just so great. I love that console.
Excellent console, and it's I never owned it, and I don't think I rented it, just played it a little bit when I was at my ex-girlfriend's house, but did play it enough to, experience GTA Vice City. Like, that game probably is one of my favorite ones from the series. And, I think that's the one that kind of made me realize at that time, I was like, I am missing out on games, by sticking to Nintendo just because this is never coming to the platform. Even though, I had an N64 and I rented the PS1, I played Resident Evil 2, but like Ryan and Kiku, Resident Evil 2 eventually came to N64. So I was like, okay, so maybe I can, get by just owning a Nintendo console. But I know with
Well, when
PS2,
the
I
GameCube
was
came
like,
around as well, Matt, you have to remember the GameCube was the Resident Evil console. Like it had
It was.
every Resident
Yep.
Evil game on it in that era of games.
Remake, Zero, Resident Evil 4, Ryan, you're so right.
But
And,
even the re-releases
you know-
of 2 and 3, like they were there too as well. Like it had everything. It was the Resident Evil console, which is just weird to think about that generation.
That's why the GameCube's the GOAT, Ryan. That's why the GameCube is the GOAT of Nintendo. Everybody knows that. It's a fact. Not debating with anybody.
It is the
Fact.
Nintendo
It's the
GOAT.
GameCube.
There is
It
no
really
debate
is.
about that. You're right.
No. But yeah, I remember GTA Vice City. I was like, oh crap, I'm missing out by not having a PlayStation because that game just blew me away.
Vice City
Just
was
the
so
summer vibes, the music, like so
Yeah.
good, so good.
leaps and bounds beyond what Grand Theft Auto 3 was. That's for sure.
Yeah. Whereas I just wasn't really, we talked about it on the show before, but I've just never really been like a Grand Theft Auto person. So like I bought the trilogy when it came to Xbox and I played, a lot of San Andreas and Vice City. But even then I was just like, never really into those games. But that's just me personally, because I'm just never really a Grand Theft Auto person. But yeah, like a lot of licensed games too, is like Lord of the Rings video games and stuff like that too. But yeah, believe it or not, like the first console I got of that generation was the GameCube. Like, which is weird because I had the PlayStation 1 before it. Because I was that guy that you knew who got a Dreamcast at launch and was all about the Dreamcast for the first 2 years that the Dreamcast was around.
Dreamcast was great though.
Yeah. Well, I know.
Dreamcast is good.
But
Good console.
Dreamcast
it's
was
one of
great.
those things where, like, when the PlayStation 2 came out, I was like, I don't need a PlayStation 2. I got my Dreamcast. I can play Phantasy Star Online or Ready to Rumble
Soul
Boxing.
Calibur.
Yeah, Soul Calibur.
so
There was a
good.
lot of good games on the Dreamcast. Sonic Adventure. Like that's the thing. Like that was my
Skies
like
of Arcadia.
yeah, but no, I never played
2.
Skies of Arcadia. But that was also like back in the day, back at that time too, where I was also playing a lot of PC games at the time. Because that was when I was, devoting hours upon hours upon hours playing Jedi Knight 2 to stay at top of the leaderboards on the Microsoft Gaming Zone. Like that was that era of my life. So yeah, that was the thing. I mentioned that before, but I was like the 4th best player in the world at that game. So yeah. Anyways, moving on. We got Tim Paullin who says, Dead Space 2? All 3 in the series are great, but Dead Space 2 is amazing. I'm a bit weird when it comes to spooky games, though. Example, I will not ever finish a Resident Evil game, but I love and own all the Resident Evil movies. That's an interesting one.
Oh, that is very interesting. Oh
I
boy,
mean,
yeah.
to be fair, I own all those movies too, Tim Paullin. So I hear you.
He doesn't play the games. That's the weird part.
That's a little bit surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, when you say all the movies, Tim, do you just mean the Mila Jovovich ones, or do you mean the animated ones too? Because Matt, as you know, there's a bajillion animated Resident Evil movies too.
I was wondering which one he was referring to. Was it the animated ones, which are pretty decent, or is it the live actions
Welcome
ones,
to
which
Dead,
are
which are all
Dead
bad.
Island was not decent, Matt. Okay.
They all bad.
there are some that are pretty bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are.
I mean, at least they have a better track record than the live action movies, at least. But
Yeah.
Tim Paullin has a question for me. It says, question for Ryan. Did you ever get around to watching Night of the Comet that Donnie recommended? It's so bad that it's good. Tim Paullin, this is actually on my list of movies to watch before the end of the week, before Halloween. Because I have a schedule that I keep of all the Halloween movies that I watch, the scary movies. So it's on the list of movies to watch this week. So I will actually watch it before Extra Life, before Halloween happens. So I will report on it probably next podcast, because I'll probably have watched it by then. I'll have other things to talk about that podcast too, though. So maybe I won't have time to talk about it. Wink. Next up, the captain. God, I can't read today. Says it's still spooky season! ! You wake up in the middle of the night. You hear strange noises coming from the open bedroom window. Still groggy and unsure about what these noises are, you decide to investigate. As you make your way to the front door, the noises are becoming louder and more clear. Moans, groans, and deathly screams. You can't resist. You go out the front door to see what's going on. Your town has been overrun with zombies, and thousands of them are heading straight towards you. You stood outside, frozen, and you don't know what you do. Then you hear the sound from above. Caw-caw, caw-caw! Is that the Falcon Army? No, it's the fox dropping the sorting hat in front of your feet. You reach in and pull out a weapon of your choice. What weapon do you choose to defend yourself in the zombie apocalypse? Rules: the weapons have to be from a horror video game. This is an interesting question here. You've got, first of all,
I'm gonna go.
Love the sound, Captain.
I already. It's a very good question. I already knew exactly what I wanted, and I'm going outer space with Isaac Clarke's the Ripsaw, the one that you pop out and it just floats in the air and just rips them apart. So satisfying. Just aim for the head, aim for the neck, just rip them apart.
Nice
I'm good.
choice.
Nice.
So good.
Ron, is there a weapon from a horror game you would want to use against the zombie apocalypse?
Well, once again, Matt took the Dead Space weapon, so I'll go
can
old
use
school.
the line gun.
Just give
Plasma
me
cutter?
a pitchfork. Just give me a pitchfork or an axe.
Okay.
What? A pitchfork? Right.
Yeah? Hey,
It's not gonna do to zombie. Come on.
I'm gonna
aim for the head, brother.
Oh god.
I'm going to pick the ultimate zombie killing weapon. The weapon that destroyed Nemesis in Resident Evil 3, the railgun. I'm taking the railgun.
Badass.
Even though it's huge and it looks really heavy.
I was about to say, you're going to
I
have to
don't
tilt
care.
that around.
I'm just going to carry
It's a big
around
gun.
the railgun.
It's a big gun.
He's going to get one shot in. That's going to be it for him.
My cheaty answer is actually going to be the BFG from Doom. Is the cheaty answer. Because it might wipe out half the town, but you know what? It'll kill all the zombies. And as long as you're on the other side of the bullet, it won't hit you. So that's all that matters. So BFG is just, it's too overpowered. But honestly, Ron, if the stipulation didn't say from a horror game, you know what my answer would be. The dubstep gun. I would have picked the dubstep gun to defeat
Dubstep gun
the
is
zombie
great.
apocalypse. Yeah. Like, come on. The dubstep gun from Saints Row.
And all the
4.
zombies will start dancing around. So, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Dubstep is good. The dubstep gun is so great. Underrated weapon.
Honestly,
Underrated.
it's one of my favorite video game weapons.
It is.
Like, I would want that against the zombie
So
apocalypse.
underrated.
Yeah. I mean, the best part is it recharges automatically through the power
It
of
does.
footstep.
You don't
So
have to worry about ammo
ammo.
for it. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yep. And you got cool music to go along the way. But all right. Next up, we got Skycatcher, who says, "What's your scariest moment while gaming? Could be losing a file save, forgetting to save, a jump scare, a game, or someone just sneak up behind you when you were in the zone." This is an interesting one, but Skycatcher, I'm going to use an old story here that I've told on the podcast before, or other podcasts before. But I was so excited, y'all, while I was in college, playing Assassin's Creed 2, to finish Assassin's Creed 2. Because I got to the very last mission in Assassin's Creed 2. I made sure my console was saved properly. I shut it off properly. This was the Xbox 360 days, so I even had it, not in, sleep mode or anything like that. So there was no power surge in my building anyways, but if there was, it wouldn't have caused what I'm about to say to happened. So I went to, go shoot like a music video because I was, went to broadcasting school. And when I came back to my console and I was all excited to finish Assassin's Creed, the scariest thing happened. I booted up my Xbox 360 and it said new game, and the continue and load games sections were grayed out because there was no save because it was gone. And I was so sad. I was like, no. And I was just like, well, I beat this game. I'm just going to go to YouTube and just watch the ending on YouTube because I just could not deal with it. I was just like, I'm not playing the game over
not
again.
all the way through the whole game again. No,
game.
sir.
No,
thank you.
I'm good. So yeah, there's that. It's something. But what about y'all? What are y'all thinking about this?
I'm gonna go with in-person jump scare. So, if you played a spoopy game and you're got some friends backseat gaming, and they yell at you, to jump scare you, that's the most terrifying thing when you're going through a sneaky hallway and they just grab you and shake you and yell at you. That's what I'd say is very terrifying. It's very fun. Try
I feel
it.
like you don't have very good friends if they do that.
It's a good time. I enjoy. I'm all for it, so it's okay.
Okay. Okay. Ron, how about you, man?
In Batman Arkham Asylum, when I got to the Scarecrow fight, I thought my PS3 had died or was glitching out.
Yes.
I had immediately panicked and thought something had happened and gone wrong with my PS3 during that fight. I was so relieved.
Are you good, eh?
Yeah, it got me good. That got me good. And the funny thing about it is my friend was playing it around about the same time that I was. And he had ended up calling me later on, and we joked about it because, like I said, I thought my PS3 had just gone on the fritz because of that damn thing. Great boss battle. They should have put a disclaimer up. Because I'm pretty sure quite a few people probably panicked at that time, thinking that their PS3 or 360 was, or even their PC was on the fritz. But I think that's what really got me best out of any game I could think of, where I actually full on panic got set in.
Kind of like how I panicked a little bit at the time that I put my controller down and Psycho Mantis said he was going to move my controller with his mind, and then he moved the controller with his mind, and it started moving around very slightly around my kitchen table. I'm like, oh my god, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of miss those old tricks.
Yeah. I mean, also during that same boss fight, the reason that came up in my brain when you mentioned that, Ron, was during that boss fight, then your screen goes to like the video, the black screen with just video in the top left-hand corner. But of course it says Hideo instead of video, because of course it does. And it just multiple times throughout the fight. So it's just like, oh, I guess your TV's just turning off. Going to a different channel.
That Psycho Mantis fight was great, though.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. And then, of course, you had to somehow figure out to plug the controller into the second controller. That's how you stop him from reading your mind. Good God.
Oh, man.
So good.
Yeah. I love the fact, too, that they had that Easter egg. Because for those that haven't played Astrobot, they brought Psycho Mantis back into Astrobot, and he has his TV and everything. It's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He
Can't wait.
makes the controller move with his mind. It's so cool.
That's awesome.
All right. Next up, we got Black Wyver, who says, since it's nearly Halloween, do you think there will be any announcements this week like Resident Evil 9? If you were granted one wish, which spooky game would you like to see announced this week? So, Matt, I don't think Resident Evil 9 is getting announced this week because Capcom's gotten into the mode where they're just like they're all in on Monster Hunter at this point.
That's right. It's about Monster Hunter right now.
Yeah. They're not going to announce anything until Monster Hunter comes out in February. So, that ain't happening this week. As much as I would love to see Resident Evil 9 this week, Black Wyver, that is not happening. But if I got a choice, I would just say I already got Alien Isolation 2 announced, so I don't have to say that. I love this one in the chat. FCO RMZ says, Sound Hill 1 on PlayStation Classics with trophies. Dude, that would be such a good announcement if it came out this week. Like, I would love that. In fact, actually, that's going to just, kind of round things out with what wish, if I was granted one wish, it would be the Silent Hill Collection Volume 1 gets announced this week. For Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3, the OG versions of them with trophies, like the Metal Gear Collection with a bunch of museum stuff and whatnot. I think that would be an awesome collection. And I'm surprised Konami hasn't announced it yet. So, there you go. Silent Hill Collection Volume 1 is mine. But what about you?
I'm going to go with Signalis, a sequel, or not even a sequel, just the next game from that developer. So if you're not familiar, Signalis is an indie game that's very reminiscent of old school Resident Evil games. Very spoopy, highly recommended if you like the classic Resident Evil games, and it's fantastic. It's very stressful. It's a really good game. So, and it's possible that the developers announce their next game. It doesn't have to be a direct sequel to that IP, but I'm such a fan of that game that I'd be excited for them to announce whatever the upcoming project is. It doesn't have to come out in 2025, but if at least that they kind of give like a teaser trailer for what they're working on next. Because I hope they make more. Because Signalis is excellent. It's really, really good.
Nice. Ron, how about you?
Xenoblade Chronicles 4. That's a scary game I would like to be announced. Thank you.
Scary?
It's so
Nothing
scary
about that.
It's scary as bad.
What?
It's just.
It's
I'm just messing bad.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong about that.
He is wrong. You're both wrong.
If I had my way, I would like to see a sequel to Prey, but it would have to be done the right way. I don't want it to be anything quick cash in or just say, hey, we made a sequel to Prey. Prey was a really great game. And I would love to see what they could do with that continuing on. But it's not going to happen, I know. But, God, it was such a great game, and I would love to see it continue on.
Now, Ron, what if your wish became a Monkey Paws wish, where the sequel to Prey that they announced was not a sequel to the Prey that you played, but a sequel to the 2006 Prey game?
Oh, please, God, no.
With the butt doors. Like,
Can you imagine?
Don't bring that into the universe, please. That does not need it. Well, you know what? Correction. Wait a minute. When they actually announced that there was going to be a sequel for that,
yeah.
and they showed that trailer actually looked great. If it is going to be like that, then yes, they can do a sequel to that old Prey. I'll take it.
Well, that's what New Prey turned into. Like that's what that trailer was the baseline for what that New Prey game became.
That trailer was nothing like Arcane's one, though.
I know,
yeah.
But that was the game.
But if they give me that one, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because that looked like that was going to be some bounty hunter kind of like stuff. I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. If that happens, that's cool. But not that OG Prey. No thanks. Yeah. Multipass.
Oh my God. People were so excited for Prey at the time. It was so much hype for it, and I'm just like,
there was a lot of good marketing for that. That was a great marketing campaign. It was, and then the game came out, and you were like,
I was gonna say, when I played the demo for that, Ron, that became my very first multi-pass of the Xbox 360.
Yeah, I played the demo too.
Yeah.
Damn.
Because I at the time, I was so into Xbox 360 games that I was literally playing everything that was coming out for Xbox 360. I was going and playing games that I would normally never play simply because they were on Xbox 360 and I wanted achievements, and or just play them online because it was the first time I had like Xbox Live was when I got my 360. And that was the very first game that I distinctly remember playing the demo for, and I'm like, nah, I can't do this one.
Yeah.
Nah,
yeah. The demo turned me off of that one too. So save me some bucks on that one.
Absolutely. Oh my God. I like this one. FCO RMZ says, Gears of War on PlayStation. That's it. The game has some scary moments. Of course, them referring to what game they want to announce this week.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Make it happen, Phil. Give us the go ahead and give us the trilogy.
I mean, they made another statement this week, Ron, saying they're continuing to be multi-platform going into the future.
Exactly.
I'm all for it. Yep. Give me Gears. Give me Forza Horizon. Just give it to me. Fable.
Give me Starfield. Let's do it. Give us all. We want all of them.
I'll take Starfield. That's fine. Yeah.
Starfield's actually one that I talked about before, but I'm like, I still can't believe that actually hasn't happened yet, because I felt like when Shattered Space was coming out, like I felt like that was the perfect time to actually bring it on PlayStation. Yeah. But
just bring it on all over. Perfect Dark. Just give it all.
Yep.
Just give it all.
Just do it all. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Final question of the episode comes to us from our courageous co-host, Fuya, the Thunder from Down Under, who says, "Hello, friends. You know, it feels a little odd not being in the show today, but that's okay because we'll be together next weekend." That's true, Fuya. We will see you next weekend. I do not play spoopy games. It's too much for me, my anxiety. Luigi's Mansion 3 is the furthest I'll go. I tried playing Little Nightmares once, but 20 minutes in, I had a slight panic attack. So here is my question for you three. What is the tamest spooky game you've ever played? In brackets, I want legitimate answers.
Luigi's Mansion GameCube.
Yeah,
that was super tame.
But it's good. It's a good game, though.
Yeah, I'm not gonna knock it. I enjoyed it. But yeah, it was very, very tame. Very tame. Nothing scary about it at all. But fun game though.
I will say the tamest horror games I ever played were horror games that existed on the NES. So stuff like Kid Dracula, that was a Japanese only game, but then got re-released in the Castlevania collection, where you play as like a very like goofy version of Dracula, but it's got like the Castlevania motif where he's going around his castle and he needs to, collect a bunch of stuff so he can get back into his coffin and go to sleep. You've got a bunch of games like that. Like, for God forbid, Nightmare on Elm Street on NES is a very, very, very like tame horror game where you're fighting like skeletons and like dumb looking spiders, and then like a really, really goofy version of Freddy. Like it's just a very, very goofy and fun and tongue in cheek kind of horror game on the NES. So for me, like those are like the tamest horror games that I know are those games. But besides that, that's the thing. It's like you're either kind of going into like gross entity department, but it's not scary, or like very, very scary with jump scares and stuff like that. And that's what I find like a lot of modern horror games kind of fit into, is like one of the two of those. So I don't know if there's like a tame modern horror game, but I want y'all to correct me, Matt or Ron. What do you think about this question?
It's kind of hard to, just like you said, it's just
yeah.
there's no real tame horror out there, really. I mean, I guess it depends on each person. Everybody, I guess, has a different, like, some are scared by different things, and then some are fazed by certain things. Like, I could watch, a horror movie, and my sister might be completely scared to death of it, and I can watch it, and it's perfectly fine. So I guess it just really depends on the person on that one.
Yeah. Before you jump in, Matt, the one I thought of actually for Fulia actually is like a riff on Luigi's Mansion, and that's Ghostbusters the video game. Because if you
that one.
If
Okay,
you've ever seen
I didn't think about that.
Ghostbusters the movie, they did kind of like a pseudo sequel to Ghostbusters with kind of the original cast, and it originally released on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, but they did a re-release of it pretty recently, and it's still available on the PlayStation Store, and it's usually really cheap. It goes on sale all the time. I think it's usually like $15. And it's actually a pretty good game where you're catching ghosts,
decent.
You're doing Ghostbusters things, and you're doing very similar stuff to Luigi's Mansion. And it's also a very tame horror experience because, again, it's Ghostbusters. It's not really that scary. It's a horror comedy. But go ahead, Matt. I'm curious to know what you think about this question.
Yeah, Ron gave a really good recommendation for Luigi's Mansion. Seems like Fuli's already played those ones. The only one I could think that comes to mind is like, she's not going to play this one, but it's Castlevania 64. Like, okay. It's meant to be a horror game, but it's not spoopy, friends.
It's not spoopy at all. Yeah,
it's got a lot of jank, and you don't want to know what's scary. It's the camera. Yeah. That's just scary how bad it is.
Almost as bad as Shadow of Colossus. Woof.
So watch out.
It's just as bad in the sequel to Castlevania 64 as well.
That camera.
Yeah. None of the Castlevania games actually, because all the Castlevania games are like horror adjacent games, but they're not really like spooky or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Which is why, like, I technically like Castlevania was one of the first games I ever played on the NES. But that's why I didn't bring it up earlier when we were talking about like our first horror experience. Because I felt like those games, even though you're fighting a lot of horror monsters, they weren't really like horror. They weren't scary or anything like that. They weren't scary or anything like that. Yeah. No, I like these recommendations here. Pumpkin Jack or Medieval. Those are kind of
nice.
More on the goofy end too. But yeah. All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the PlayStation Drive. But before we go, we got to thank all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, starting with our ultimate producers, Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on our podcast, as well as the Xbox Drive. You can find the link tree to all of his music over at Purple Monkey Entertainment at the link tree, linktr.ee/pme.jib. Cwagmire, who humbly reminds you the best babes are in fact Xenobabes. And TechMike, who says, whether you're Kevesi or Agnian, you're a Xenobabe at heart. Links to all of our ultimate producers can always be found in the description of our podcast. Our platinum producers, Smokin Joe, Solo, the Captain, and Tim Paullin. And our gold members, Adam K, Adam, Anna, Awesome Dave 1337, BobLoblaw, Brad Moore, Brian Reese, Cecily Carrozza, Dan and Luma, Dannohh, Drellesh, Emily O'Kelly, Hoppel, John 32, Ligerwoods 330, OldMrFrump, Patrice Mallette, Peje, Shane Erickson, TheDonRob, and the Jiggy Collector. Huge thank you once again to all of our patrons are at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. If you want to head on over there, choose the tier that's right for you, and hop in the car with us. And now, Ron, plugs go.
Savoy Prime on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Backlogged, PSN profiles, True Trophies, and Savoy_Prime on Twitter.
Nice. And Matt, how about you?
You can find me as Nagachaka in the Carpool Gaming Discord and on Twitter. And you'll find me in person in 6 days in Extra Life. That's right, friends. And like Ryan said, if you can donate, that'd be great. It goes towards a good cause. But if you can't, tell your friends, tell your family about it, and just join us. It's going to be so much fun with you joining us there. And like Ryan's already teased, got a lot of fun things happening. So please join us.
Absolutely, my friend. As for me, you can find me over on Twitter, aka X, at Ryan Turfer. You can also find us on X at Carpool Gaming, right here, youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming Live, and of course, podcast services around the globe. Again, don't forget, Extra Life this weekend, November 2nd, 10 a.m. Eastern Time until 10 a.m. Eastern Time the following day.
Oh, man.
Please be excited. Yeah, it's fine. It's only 25 hours, Matt. It's all good. We got this.
Only.
And we're out. Good night, everybody. And have a happy Halloween,
Bye.
everybody. Also wanted to say that.
Bye, folks. Thanks for checking out this week's episode of the PlayStation Drive. Now, before you drive off, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us at Carpool Gaming on socials. Don't forget to check out our awesome merch on carpoolgaming.com, and you can also support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, where you'll unlock all kinds of exclusive content. Links to everything are in the description.